The NHS is going to reward people for walking 30 minutes a day, a long streak to win an award. If you do it, you'll have walked a marathon throughout the month. It's interesting stuff, and it's not just potentially stigmatizing and patronizing. It is quite polarizing because there are some people saying this is great, this is a wonderful idea, and we'll hear from them. The NHS has made the announcement today. It's backed by a great man, Sir Brendan Foster, who started the Great North Run, biggest half marathon in the world, of course, and another big British thinker. I mentioned him just before, Sir Charlie Mayfield, always worthy of another mention, former chairman of John Lewis, of course, highly successful. Now the government's worklessness czar. Says he's got 200 businesses signed up, finding new ways to cut sick days and get more people back into work. It's a big problem. We are walking towards a time bomb of 20 minutes a day. So how much help do we need to get out of the house? As Kim Kardashian once said, it seems like nobody wants to work these days. Actually, more on her brand of capitalism after 10 as we mark the 250th anniversary of the USA. That'll be interesting. But what's happening here? What's stopping you walking 30 minutes a day? Your office, job, your to-do list, your kids, your caring responsibilities. What about others? Do you judge other people's lives? I think we all do, just a little bit. Is it good that these health choices have the backing of the NHS? It shows it's a health service, not just a sick service. 08085 909 693 for a Friday morning. 85058. The scheme has been, as I say, developed by the former Olympian Sir Brendan Foster.
We were asked by the NHS to put together a team of experts to try and see if we could get more people walking more often. So you do your marathon a month for several months. There'll be digital rewards initially, and then as you go further into it, those digital rewards will become material rewards.
Yeah, okay. Deven Ghelani, founder and director of Policy and Practice, which helps people navigate the welfare system. Hi, Deven. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Nicky.
All right?
Great to be on.
Yeah, good. And James Price, former government senior special advisor, research fellow at the Centre for Policy Studies. James, thanks for getting off your backside and talking to us this morning. It's great to...
Only you could get me off it, Nicky, don't worry.
It's a good idea, James, isn't it?
Well, look, I think anything that encourages people to be more active and to realize that the human body is capable of doing great things and the human mind is equally capable of doing great things is wonderful and marvelous. I think the devil will be in the detail, as always, with these things. And I think it's important whenever we look at the NHS, we look at the welfare state in general, to realize the kind of money that we're talking about here, and anything that helps to get that bill down and make the money that's spent more effective would be a good thing. But we've really got to get into perspective again, some classic economics principles. The classic one being, if you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes. And if this scheme has got good incentives in there, it sounds a bit like Sir Brendan Foster saying we're going to gamify some of it to get people doing things. Great, fine by me to some extent. But of course, the problem is that if you have an NHS that will look after everybody regardless of whatever, you're going to have to start incentivizing people in these ways, because some people will act responsibly just because it's the right thing to do, others won't. And there is a moral issue here about people acting either poorly with their own behavior and expecting others to pay for it, or not working at all. And I think that's a slightly connected issue in general, and just expecting hard-working taxpayers up and down the country to foot that bill. And I think that's an important part of the conversation as well.
Hard-working taxpayers to foot the bill. Tell me more about that.
Well, at the moment, we are spending a huge amount more every single month just on debt interest payments than we frankly should be. Andy Burnham says he doesn't want to be in hock to the bond markets anymore. Great. Well, the only way to do that is to get economic growth going and to tighten our belts. I looked at it for the last month, and we spent something like £11.7 billion just to service the amount of debt that we've got. And that number is going up and up all the time. And the biggest line item of that obviously comes from the welfare and pensions bill. The next comes the NHS. These are huge amounts of money, and the money is being put onto our children and our grandchildren, and at this point, our great-great-great-grandchildren. And that's not a moral or responsible thing to do either. So everything we can do to get that bill down, of course, also helps ensure that the people who most genuinely need help, whether it's in the NHS or whether it's through the welfare state, they really do get the help that they need. And people who shouldn't be on that can also be incentivized in other ways. And the last thing I'll say on this is that we think about incentives perhaps just in terms of can we give people money or rewards to do things? But of course, incentives also go the other way. If you don't start behaving in a good manner and all the rest of it, you will start having money or other benefits and things like that withdrawn. Because as Ronald Reagan would say, the best social welfare program in the whole world is the dignity of getting a job. And I think he was right about that for all those people who can and should.
Devon, come back on that stuff.
Wow. So we've kind of moved it into the fiscal space when actually, if you're looking for, everyone says there are no silver bullets in policy. It's really hard to find magic answers. But if there were one, probably working 30 minutes a day is one of the most uncontroversial ways in which you can bring down the
Well,
benefits
why do
bill,
people
make
need
people
to
happier.
be told?
Oh, I took my parents to the osteopath yesterday, basically paying £120 to have someone other than their son tell them they need to get out and walk a little bit more, right? So sometimes it's helpful to have other people nudge people in the right direction, right? So we talk about incentives. There are also things like nudges. And actually, the NHS has had some success with things like this before. So Couch to 5K is a pretty successful program that got people, off their couch and start moving again. So if something like that can work again, it's pretty, to my mind, it's pretty uncontroversial. What's wrong with someone suggesting something, right? You can take it on board or not, but hopefully a lot of people do.
So
It's good
what
for
do you
them
think?
as well. It's good for their families. That's the other thing to sort of say, right? So we're walking 30 minutes a day. It's not something you're doing to save money for the state. You're not being cajoled into it by the NHS. It is something that is actually beneficial for you as well, because it means you're fundamentally more active. You get out more, and actually once you as you said to the other guests, you get up off your ass and start doing it. It is
Oh,
actually quite a good. It is actually quite a good thing. It is
smelling
actually quite.
salts.
People
Yeah.
start to enjoy it.
Yeah. But why don't people know that it's a good thing to do without having to be told that it's a good thing to do and incentivized to do it?
I
Why
think
don't we
people do
know
know.
this
I
stuff?
mean, the incentives are pretty small, right? So it's just like gamifying anything. We all struggle to start something, right? It's just a known thing. The first step is always the hardest, right? And when you start going, it becomes a bit easier. If there's something that nudges you in that direction, that's a good thing. We get pushed in different. We get pushed to do bad things all the time, right? We get there are lots of nudges that say, "Oh, watch the next Netflix show." Right. That's why I'm a little bit tired today. Probably watched 2 episodes of The Pit last night. There are nudges in both directions, and actually, having nudges that push you to do the right thing, which is good for you. That ultimately, when you start doing it, you probably want to do more of it yourself, incentives or not. That I just see that as a wholly positive thing.
James?
Well, again, that all sounds absolutely marvelous. And just as Devon was talking there, I had a look on the App Store, and I can see loads of Couch to 5K apps that are completely free, that don't necessarily require taxpayers' money being involved in making another one of them. And so I think, again, why do we want people to do this? Well, because we are all in hock to the tax bill. And the reason that people get unhealthy a lot of the time, and Devon, I'm sure, and I will agree on this, because they're not very good at looking after themselves right now, or just choosing not to, the rest of us have to foot the bill. And this is, I think, maybe a fundamental issue that I have with aspects of how we fund the NHS. I'm not suggesting that we go to an American style system, although the American system is the one that comes up with many of the leading healthcare fixes in the world, but just go and look at what we've got over on the continent. So many policymakers are keen for us to copy European examples in other ways, but there you have a level of social insurance where you will get an insurance policy, and if you can't afford to pay for it yourself, the state will do. And insurance companies seem to be pretty good at doing these kinds of nudges as well. If you sign up for some life insurance and at the same time you sign up for a little device that goes on your wrist that encourages you to walk 10,000 steps a day, you get a lower premium. That sounds like a perfectly good, sensible thing for me. I just worry about the NHS and the welfare state in general, with how inefficient it is and how open to abuse it so often is, that it will not be able to do this as effectively as private organizations that come along. Just go and look on the App Store and see all these different apps. I get beeped at all the time by apps my wife has put on my phone to make me go for a run and go and lift some weights and all that sort of stuff.
She just
Great.
wants you out of
Happy
the
with
house,
that.
James. This is
Yeah, that's of
obviously the
course. Well, that's why she told me
situation
to go on the
here.
radio this morning.
Yeah. So what about getting people at work to be healthier and making sure that companies are partly responsible for that? Is that another imposition on companies, James?
Well, again, I think it is if you make it on a statutory basis, because there's so many regulations that business leaders are trying to do. And what happens if you force someone to go for a run and they get hurt? Are you going to be in and hop for their insurance bill for that, and so on and so forth? But I do think that most employers care more about their employees than a faceless bureaucrat in Whitehall ever could do. If you say, do you know what, it's going to be a great thing, we're all going to go for a run together, you want to come along with us, that sounds like a marvelous thing to do. And the best kind of companies in the world are ones that have all those sorts of schemes and things built in there as well. Great. But again, with when we've got the kind of debt bill that we've got the problems with our defense, you've got the problems with all sorts of things across the state right now. Is this the number one thing that, for example, an incoming prime minister should be worrying about having on his desk? When, again, I'm just going to remind people, we are in a huge economic crisis and we're in a huge defense crisis as well. That's not to downplay people's health, but those are the kinds of really acute short term issues that all parties, mine included, didn't do enough about. And that, I think, is the focus of big government, what it should be really cracking down on. And all the rest of this stuff is marvelous, but if it can be done better by other sources, then I think it should be.
So what about just addressing the question, David, in Scarborough with you in a second, Deven Ghelani, is Britain lazy? There's a perception from many that there are a lot of lazy people who should be getting off their, well, to use that A word that you so delicately introduced into the conversation. It's fine. I've heard worse, and indeed I have said worse, often unwittingly. Is Britain lazy, Deven?
I really don't think it is. So one thing we're missing in this whole conversation is the fact that we are just an aging population, right? Where we are getting older, which means that we need to do more to stay active. And um, I think every indicator suggests we're taking health more seriously in the UK. Um, uh, but as we get older, if we stay inactive, we're going to stay inactive. I mean, this is exactly what my osteopath was telling my parents yesterday. You need to stay active. You need to keep doing more. And as we get older, we need to do a lot more about that. And we haven't really spoken about how that is quite a big driver of what is happening to our benefits bill, our pensions bill, and that's partly what's getting us in the fiscal problems that James has been speaking about. And one of the silver bullets, there aren't very many, is for us all to do more to stay active for longer. And I run a private sector company that effectively does part of public services, helping people to navigate the benefit system. I love the fact that we are pushing the government to do better, and I love the fact that the government, when it improves its services, is pushing us to do better. I think having the NHS contribute to what is actually, again, quite an active space, lots of apps, lots of incentives out there to get people out there and doing things, I think that's a positive thing. And I think the more people that are pushing people in that direction is one way you'll get the right kinds of positive changes without imposing some quite drastic fiscal burdens when you're seeing benefits frozen, which, from my perspective over the last decade, I'd say that's been counterproductive, right? You're seeing people who are sicker as a result. And I'd say some of the cuts to social security we've seen over the last decade have pushed people into a position where they are finding it hard to stay healthy, finding it hard to find work as a result.